Internet, hello and welcome to this week's Patron review. Now this week we are reviewing Star Wars Clone Wars for John Goetz. John Goetz is very good at getting me to watch animated stuff that I might not see otherwise, and I was really excited to see this one on the list because I've heard legend of it. I have steered inadvertently away from animation over the last few years, and John Goetz is having me watch like My Hero Academia, some Dragon Ball Super, and now a Star Wars property that I may have missed otherwise. Now this is Genndy Tartakovsky's Star Wars Clone Wars. This is 2003 through 2005 Star Wars. These originally aired as 5 to 15-minute little micro episodes that played before the primetime run of the Toonami stuff. So this is not the CGI 2008 Clone Wars that is canon. This is the 2D, very specifically Samurai Jack, Dexter's Laboratory-esque, very specific animation in the 2D style that came out in 2003. Now this is considered not canon, and I want to talk about that first because I think that's really interesting in pop culture. I think there are merits to it because it allows people like me to not feel overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the content. To be honest, this was less intimidating than a lot of Star Wars content. This was less, oh no, I've got to do homework, less I'm afraid to dive into, less, oh no, I'm not going to talk about this online because I'll be attacked for not knowing stuff. It being in a bubble in its own way is a very good opportunity for people like me to have access to it. But on the flip side of that, it lowers the stakes some. I would love to see some of these characters make their way into other properties. They still can, and I know they've taken some of those characters into Clone Wars and other things, but it seems to me it beautifully ties into between episode 2 and 3. I don't remember the prequel trilogy all that well, but it seems to line up pretty well from my memory. So I think there are merits in having it in canon as well as outside of canon. What you can do with it outside of canon is pull whatever you want from it, get your greatest hits, and just kind of take what you want. But with it being outside of canon, that does bring in people that might not have dove into it otherwise. I don't know that I'll ever watch the CGI long form animated one just because the amount of content I need to consume, the books that tie in, there's just so much mythology. And it's kind of cool as someone who deeply dives into comic books and deeply dives into everything that I'm invested in. It's nice to have something that I can just kind of like piecemeal aside. I will never have the amount of time to invest in Star Wars as I do in comic books. It's not as much my world. I like Star Wars, but it's very casual. So I think this is probably what it feels like. Since I've read comics since I was 3, I'll never know what it's like to not be a comic book fan, but I imagine this is what it feels like to people when they watch a DC movie or a Marvel movie or even something based off an Image comic like Invincible. It must be interesting to wonder what's being adapted, what's being transferred, what's malleable and what isn't, what the strict canon is. So it's an interesting conversation. Marvel's doing a What If show, which will also be on Disney Plus, that is going to be outside of canon, and some of that's going to be based off of the What If comic books. So these are going to be little one-off vignettes that are separate from our mythology that still reference comic books. So that's the closest I think you can get to having something in and out of canon to this scale. I'm really curious long-term if this ever becomes canon, because I know there's a lot of argument for it. I really enjoyed it. That is what I want to get to, is that I'm glad I wasn't intimidated by the barrier of the Star Wars fandom, nor the amount of content needed to consume to enjoy this, but I really, as an isolated experience, enjoyed the 2-hour and 20-minute experience that was these 3 volumes. When it originally aired, it was 3 volumes. It is now 2 volumes on Disney Plus. It is called on Disney Plus the Mouthful Star Wars Vintage Clone Wars 2D Micro Series. It took me quite a while to find because I kept being unsure if it was the right thing. It's a very different cover, it's a different title than I expected, because The Clone Wars is also on Disney Plus, which is Dave Filoni, The Mandalorian's Dave Filoni, and it's in canon. So they're pushing that a lot more. So Star Wars Vintage, one, that sounds like way longer than 2003. 2003 was less than 20 years ago. Easy on the vintage. Also, the fact that 2003 was almost 20 years ago. Good God. But Clone Wars 2D micro series, it's quite the journey. So I had to triple check that was the right program that I was supposed to be watching. But that is where you find it on Disney+. It was just added this month, so this is a very timely review for John Goetz and I to drive into. And I really, really enjoyed it. So the show itself, I really appreciate the fact that the animation style varies while still being the very specific animation of Genndy Tartakovsky. The backgrounds being hand-painted like old Disney animation, the occasional use of CGI in like the fight scenes, especially the aerial fight scenes, the occasional CGI augmentation of like a number of characters I really enjoyed. There's a lot of different styles of animation in this one animation, but they're all in the one style of this artist I really appreciate because I loved Dexter and I love Samurai Jack. So it's very approachable for me. I talked about in my Invincible review how much I appreciate the 90s style animation that I see Invincible as. To me, Invincible is very much in that 90s vein, so it feels familiar. And that makes me wonder if my barriers away from animation is, in one, it's my own walls I've put up subconsciously. I've got nothing against animation. I love it as a medium. A lot of my favorite films are animation, but I very much struggle with the lack of souls in the eyes. I really have a hard time not seeing an actor and engaging with them. I have a hard time seeing a character through drawing. That's my own personal shit. It's ironic considering how much I love comic books. But I generally don't go, oh, I get what that character's going through. I've been working on that by watching, more My Hero Academia, more, Invincible. What's the, god damn it, there's some CGI I've been really vibing with. I mean, obviously Pixar has been able to tap into our soul, especially with the movie Soul, but hand-drawn animation in the 90s was what I grew up on. So there's a familiarity that kind of breaks down some barriers, that kind of puts me in a different position of nostalgia that overrides my own shortcomings towards approaching animation. And I think having this style of animation in Star Wars was able to do that as well, because I enjoyed this a lot more than I expected, to be honest. I gave it an A-, B+. It's somewhere in that B+, A- range. It is well-paced. It is well shot. The cinematography, for lack of a better term, is really stunning. I love forced perspective. I love the use of the sound design. I love hearing the Star Wars sound effects, bringing you into this world. I love the occasional wipe. There's so much fun in that element to it. There's a lot going on with the voice cast. There's some people that sound a lot like their movie parallels. There's a lot of people that don't. In fact, at the very end of this series, they have an action that kind of allows you to recast, because they hadn't cast the actor that played Grievous yet, so they did a thing very consciously to allow for that to happen. It's a very smart show. Sorry, Spidey's here. Very important. It's a very smart show, so I think it really allows Star Wars fans to have their cake and eat it too by not having it tie in while also having it tie in. Really, really enjoy it. So those are my overall thoughts. It's currently got a 7.8 out of 10 on IMDb. I'd go a little higher and give it more of the 8.8. It's got an 8.8 out of 10 on TV.com, which is about where I'd rank it. It's got 94% via Google users. That's a little higher than where I'd put it, but more, closely in tuned with my feelings towards it. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of trivia and backstory before I dive into my notes. If this is your first time watching one of my reviews on this channel, I give about 5 minutes of overall broad thoughts without spoilers. That way you can watch this and then dive into the show if you haven't seen it. Know that my non-spoiler thoughts, just given, but that it's B+, A-. It's very inventive. It's very approachable. It is a really good time. It is smart. It is well-paced. It is a damn fine animated series, and it moves at a clip at 2 hours and 20 minutes. It doesn't feel like it. I watched one volume last night, one volume today, woke up looking forward to watching it, really had a good time with it, and then I dive into my notes that I took while watching the property, and these are going to get into spoilers, obviously, because they're whilst I'm watching it. So before I get into the notes, if you have not seen it yet, get out of here, go watch Star Wars Clone Wars, aka Star Wars Vintage Clone Wars 2D Micro Series on Disney+. Just dropped over there. But before you do that, let me tell you some fun facts I learned. It was being simultaneously broadcast as a TV series and a web series. Remember in 2003 between like 01 and 04, there was a lot of this where you could like download stuff the next day after it aired. The internet was impossibly slow because it was brand new. The internet was very young at the time, but micro series were a lot more popular. Web series were very different than what they are. Technically, House of Cards is a web series, but we've evolved into what web series are today. But this was one of the very, very first, and this is actually the first Emmy award-winning web series, which is very exciting. It is the only actor to reprise his role from the films. The only one is Anthony Daniels, which is fitting. That man's voice is very specific, and you cannot really cast C-3PO as anyone else. Sound-alikes aren't going to cut it with C-3PO, and he is incredible as always in this. General Grievous, this is the trivia note I was referencing with the near death of a character. General Grievous's voice is significantly different in this rather than his voice in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, because his actor in Episode 3 had not been chosen yet. The ending of the final episode allowed for this as Mace Windu crushed Grievous's lungs, leading to a possible voice change. I love that. That was inventive. It was great storytelling. It allows for some playful continuity, again, in and out of canon. Both kind of work, and it's a lot of fun. I saw in the chat briefly, it's scrolling by fairly quickly, there's stuff that contradicts itself in the Clone Wars CGI, and that's one of the reasons it's out of canon. I'm going to read through the live chat here in a minute, but that makes sense since I haven't seen it. That would be the reason this is considered not canon. The series spawned a movie, Star Wars Clone Wars, the one that came out in 2008, and a sequel series of the same name. Instead of being a complete reboot, the new series expanded upon the original series as it provides backstory for recurring characters and new elements to the Star Wars universe. In 2014, that's when Disney officially made a lot of sanctions in their Star Wars universe, Disney updated the Star Wars timeline, making the new series officially canon. Some have argued this series is considered canon as it takes place after Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and before Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith in 05, which is also as it aired, which is a lot of fun. They were able to do this right in those timelines. Imagine, I mean, I didn't watch the show when it originally aired, but I imagine it must have been awesome to see Episode 2 in theaters, have this show bridge the gap to Episode 3. Another thing I'm loving about Disney is they're really doing a lot of great gap content where you're enjoying stuff in between the big theatrical events, everything on Disney Plus, everything in these Marvel shows, all of it's just building a broader and broader world. I've never been more excited about Star Wars than Mandalorian Season 1, 2, this new Boba Fett show. Obviously, Obi-Wan looks incredible. Very excited about it. Also, this is a Star-Lord Star Wars shirt and felt appropriate for Mr. John Goetz's review. It's time to eat. Spidey's excited. Each chapter of the series was originally broadcast before the first show of the primetime lineup on Cartoon Network, and then you could download it the next day on the website. Again, a bygone era, a very different time for content. And then you can find a bunch of other trivia on like Wikipedia and IMDb and those places, but those were some of my very favorite facts because it gave me more of an enjoyment out of the series while I was watching it, knowing those things. This is my blue milk. This is my smoothie today, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to tip my hat at the Star Wars fans by going a little blue milk. It's actually a bunch of greens like chloroform and no, is chloroform that thing? Chlorophyll? I don't know. It's the healthy greens plus my protein powder is a bit yellow because it's vanilla plus banana, so it turned into blue milk. So to my favorite Star Wars film in the last 10 years that makes people hate me, The Last Jedi, I tip my blue milk to you, you lovelies. Okay, into my notes. If you're still here, I assume you want to know my spoilerific thoughts. I'm going to read the chat very, very quickly. Michael McCarcel actually just listened to the Force Center review. I'm very curious to see what Coy thought. I got thoughts, Michael. I got thoughts. Varen G, hi all. I've not really seen Clone Wars yet, but heard it great from people. It's on Disney Plus, good sir. It is great, and I enjoyed it. Hi all, this has been on my queue forever. Get into it, Ian. I believe in you. Varen G, I watched one episode of my childhood, never came back, but it seems cool to rejoin. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, very approachable, very easy to find now that's on Disney Plus. Michael McCarcel, to be fair, Star Wars is no less intimidating to get into than so many comics. I totally agree. That's exactly what made this very approachable for me and why I'm very patient with people that don't know comics. It's my honor to show them the things that seem unapproachable, and this was a great little bite-sized thing. If I was into Star Wars, not comic books, this is a thing I would recommend to people because it is approachable. Wesley, they came out leading up to episode 3. The ending is literally moments for the beginning of episode 3, which bummed me out when this was taken out of canon. Yeah, I imagine if you were a fan of this, 2014 must have sucked. I always preferred this Clone Wars to the most recent, says Paul J. Jepson. I could see that, especially with its very concise runtime versus the scope. I haven't seen the other one, but I could see this being a beloved thing, so I really enjoyed it. Absolutely, it's a lot easier to keep up with the canon when you've been in it your whole life. Yeah, Yeah. My mom, I received my second Pfizer vaccine yesterday. I'm feeling really good so far, just a little arm tenderness. Been playing phone tag with my mom. Glad to hear she's okay. I knew she got that second shot yesterday. Hi, Mom. But also, yeah, she got that second Pfizer yesterday, so she is healing up today. All my well wishes, my mom. Michael, considering how directly it conflicts with the number of things set up in the 3D series, I don't see this ever making this canon. Again, I wouldn't know yet. If I get to the Clone Wars, I will see the conflicts. I don't know if I will, but my little sister Juliana got her second shot, but she's feeling lousy, fever, aches, and nausea. Yeah, I felt like that first shot. That was a doozy. But Wesley Marshall, the whole clone scene with no dialogue. There is a lot of scenes that are just dialogue free in this. I actually talk about that, especially Volume 1. There's like an entire 30-minute sequence that is dialogue free, but the animation is so stunning, you're fucking in. I was really impressed with that, actually. Michael and my mom talking about my little sister feeling better and about Pfizer things. Jesse Swift, what up, Jesse Swift? Jesse Swift, fellow quirky merc in my faction in the Schmodown. Have you seen Justice League Gods and Monsters? I've not. I actually don't typically enjoy the animated stuff from either DC or Marvel. I like Spider-Man the animated series, Batman the animated series, X-Men the animated series. Movies don't really do it for me generally, so I've not seen that one. The sound design for the series is brilliant. Same for Samurai Jack. Definitely enjoyed the sound design quite a bit. There's a bunch of sound design notes in my notes. We're discussing hydration. Michael McCarcel has drank a half gallon of orange juice, plenty of water, extra drink Tylenol as needed. Heal up, everybody. Let's see. Jesse is asking about the Long Halloween. Again, those aren't really my thing, and there's so much content that I can't possibly watch it all, so I accept the fact that I don't usually watch the animated ones. James Arnold Taylor is amazing as playing Obi-Wan since his micro series is incredible. People are just now discovering through this review that it's not canon anymore. I'm sorry to break that news, but here we are. All right, I'm going to dive into my notes. Hello to Travis Earl, Michael McCarcel, my mom, everyone in the chat. Jesse Swift, hope you're well, good sir. I'm going to dive into my notes as I watch the show. All right, Volume 1 begins. Oh man, I remember next to nothing about the prequels, but this seems important. I'm immediately like, I'm glad this isn't technically canon, because I don't know what's going on, but this seems important. Oh, this is fun. I love the Samurai Jack Gen D animation with sound design I know so well. Literally, someone's note just a second ago was my second note in watching this. Fun pacing and energy. This world could be so big, and this shows more of that than most of the movies in a really cool way. I personally cannot stand the fact that everything has to revolve around Skywalkers. Yes, this show is Anakin Skywalker, but we're going to different planets, we're experiencing different things, we're experiencing broader things. Like this Clone War feels bigger than just the usual family drama of what I see Star Wars as. I'm so sick of everyone being related, I'm so sick of following this one family, so I really liked, even though we're following the same one family, this felt like we could branch out. One of the reasons I love Mandalorian so much is there's not a single fucking Skywalker in it, spoiler alert, until the second to last episode of Season 2. I want the galaxy far, far away to feel like a galaxy, not like a fucking street in a suburb. So I really enjoyed this feeling so big, and I really love side missions like this. Fun pacing and energy, I just said. The old Roger. One of the few things I remember from the prequel trilogy. Even the droid fights with the stormtroopers feel pretty bitchin'. I'm loving the animation, I'm loving the pace, I'm loving the scope and size of this feeling. This Yoda ain't bad. Fish guy is a boss. Whee! Speeder bikes! Sometimes my notes are just chaos. I'm literally typing as I'm watching, and those three were all chaos. More Samurai Jack, Star Wars Aliens. The animation style, again, from my childhood. I love the broad, well-inked lines, the thick exterior lines, and the thin interior lines. There's a very specific style of creature design that Gen D does that I really dig, and I refer to it as Samurai Jack, Star Wars Aliens. Dooku, VO actor, is solid. Dooku is Christopher Lee in the films, and I really enjoy the voice actor they got here. That presence, that gravitas, that oomph, very important, and it translates faux show. Bald assassin showing her work. W-E-R-R-R-R-K. Wait, is she a Jedi? Green and blue-bladed Sith, eh? I'd never would have expected a Sith to wield them kyber crystals of the Jedi, but it makes sense if that's who you have access to, and also gives us this really cool Sith moment when she is endowed with the Sith title and blades. Now she got them Sith blades, though. Darth Sidious in that crawl chair. All right. Yeah, young Obi-Wan versus Beast Droid. Great laugh. The Beast Droid's laugh made me real happy. Again, a lot of the voice cast comes from the video games, not from the movies, and I did enjoy the Obi-Wan as well, as someone just noted. Rampaging, exploding from inside flesh droid beast was awesome. Man, Star Wars sound effects are just the best. They're the most memorable Skywalker Blue Squadron sequence. So there's this whole sequence where Anakin's like taking care of the Blue Squadron in space, and just like hearing all of the old sound design from my childhood, even though it's a different medium, it allows me to feel a different connection to these actors and these characters than I might have otherwise. And I really just love how impossibly iconic so many sound effects are in this universe. I wonder how this must have been in 5-minute chunks. I just had the first time I noticed a fade to black / break. So at one point they actually fully fade to black, and I was like, oh right, this was a show. They do a really good job putting these 5-minute chunks together. I'm curious how it felt separate in different 5-minute chunks. I was talking to my buddy yesterday. He actually had these as a DVD that he, from downloading the episodes on CloneWars.com, made a DVD back in the day, and I'm really curious what it felt like to have like all those different chapter selections, what it felt like to watch just a 5-minute chunk of the time back in the day, how long it would have taken to download on 2003's internet. I remember I downloaded me and my dad downloaded the episode 1 trailer, the first episode 1 trailer back in 2001, so the download probably would have been in the year 2000, and it took like a day and a half, like 36 hours, and then it was like this big of the computer screen, like the actual file open to this size. The internet is... Now I wait to refresh Twitter and I'm like, come on. We have it very, very easy comparatively. Not in a pandemic, but the internet is exponentially better. I digress. I love the blend of CGI popping in. Incredible the memory, emotion, nostalgia a single sound effect can bring. Add in familiar, specific animation style and chef's kiss. That is the biggest takeaway I got out of this whole show. That's why I bring it up so many times. Sound design plus this animation. Mace Windu in this bitch. Very excited to see Mace Windu, one of my favorite Jedi. Sam Jackson is the baddest motherfucker in every medium. Even when he's not voicing Mace, he is Mace, so that's Sam Jackson to me. I wrote down. I love how tactical plus force-heavy Mace's fight style is. I really love how brutal the Force is used in this show. I really enjoy how well they orchestrate both, the samurai fighting style plus the Force. I really felt like they utilized a different fighting style in this than they did in a lot of the movies, to my mind. It's a lot of fun to see this kind of, open world samurai plus Force fighting. It was really cool, and Mace's aggressive brutality is very clear here, and it's great. This Windu fight is one of my favorite Star Wars things, period. That first time we meet Mace Windu, that whole fight is incredible. Again, this is in that giant silent chunk of the film where there's almost no dialogue. He just scrapped that droid, then used the scraps to shred the others into scrap. At one point, he disassembles a droid and then uses it like the shrapnel, like an exploding, like a homemade IED, and just destroys all these droids with pieces of other droids and this bit of cannibalistic madness. It's very intense and a great use of the Force. Cinematography, especially in regards to use of close-up and Force perspectives, is truly bitchin'. The Jedi mythology between Crystal Blade and Jedi is a fun concept I'd like to see more of. There's this really cool Jedi mythology sequence talking about the kyber crystals and the blades and all this stuff, and it's really beautiful, and I love the mythology of the Jedi. I'd love to see more of that at some point. I think we might be going to taste it in Obi-Wan, but I think we'll get more of it in like Ryan's trilogy and the other stuff that's coming, but I really like that mythology. All of them, kyber crystals. Force Crystals moment is beautiful. Seriously, more of this. Haha, Jedi mind tricks by way of Yoda. Yoda's very specific speech pattern, convincing someone not to do something, but they're speaking in Yoda's very specific speech pattern. Really enjoyed that comedy and also that character build. Quite a bit of fun. Get him, Yoda! Amidala actually gets to do something in this. Look at Queen Amidala actually getting to do some shit. I remember thinking she didn't really get to do much till episode 3 when she was fighting in that Britney Spears-esque crop top where she gets like her stomach cut and it's like Natalie Portman abs, but it's like even as a kid I'm like, that's gratuitous. That was the only time I think she got to do shit. I haven't watched the prequel trilogy since they came out, not being that big a fan of them. Force badassery from Anakin. What's this invisible menace? No, R4! The invisible menace, that whole sequence, R4 we're immediately endeared to, which is very impressive in a droid and animation. Great score here leading up to and during final boss fight. There's a boss fight and there's the anticipation, a swelling of strings. Great score in this whole fucking movie, but especially in that sequence. Does this double blade Sith show up again? Ooh, that Force pull up 2 sabers into tree was cool. So there's this awesome Sith fight, the Sith we met earlier, where she's leaping up into trees and she like pulls her blades up behind her and they go into tree. It's awesome. This gives me hope for Obi-Wan the show. I've been very excited for the Obi-Wan show. This has me even more excited for it. I like this tenuously connected feel more than most of the sequel trilogy. So I'm an OG trilogy guy. I like one of the new trilogy, and I think Force Awakens is fun, but it's a remake. So for me, like Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6 are my shit. So I actually enjoyed this movie, which I'm considering it a movie, 22 hours. I actually enjoyed this movie more than most of the prequels and most of the sequels. This probably ranks at around my like halfway up in the Star Wars rankings. I'm a sucker for Rogue One and Solo. I like those more than episodes 7 and 9, and definitely more than 1, 2, and 3. But this is like around that level for me. My own personal experience. I know everyone varies, and I'm not insulting you by saying I don't like them. I'm glad you like them. But that's where this lies for me. I like this more than most of the sequel trilogy. Obi-Wan, and it was Obi-Wan. More lightsaber fights in the rain, the dope sizzle and atmosphere. The every time a rain hits a lightsaber, it like, and there's also just like this misty aura. I love the use of atmosphere. In the first one, there's rain, and the second one, there's snow, and both are fucking incredible. Finally, some Force use. Oh shit, he's got a Sith blade, and he's using it in anger and hate. Obviously, we're seeing the beginning of Obi-Wan becoming more malicious. We're seeing him actually, head to the dark side, and he uses a lot of anger and hate, as he's not supposed to here, but no one's there to see it. He's on his way. And I really like the setup between episode 2 and 3 with all this dark side buildup right here. So yeah, using it in anger and hate, and he's using a Sith blade, and he's striking down, and all of that was very great foreshadowing. I'd guess she won't be back, but Maul came back from worse. Darth Maul apparently is back in a lot of canon. Darth Maul was cut in half and thrown down a chasm. This chick was just thrown down a chasm. So I'm imagining if Maul can come back, she can come back, and she was a cool character. Osaka! There's a character that looks like Osaka. I think that's how you say her name. Rosario Dawson in Mandalorian. It turns out is not her, but I wrote in all caps, Ahsoka. 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 Got very excited. It wasn't her. Jedi read much more hippie in the animation. I'm vibing with it. I really like these hippie Jedi. I like that they're a part of the planet. I like that they're all like, vibing with mythology. I like that they're all communicating, and there seems to be like a plantness to them, an earthiness. I'm about it. Grievous in all white. This is a great character design. He looks awesome. I think I've seen this dude before. What a big bad. He's in the third one, if I remember correctly. He was fucking awesome in the third movie. The all white character is all I knew him as here, and then they say Grievous at one point. Big fan. 3 sabers. 3 1 foot. We got a foot saber. What a cutoff point is how I end Volume 1 with the foot saber. It is awesome. Those are my notes for Volume 1. I've got just as many notes for Volume 2. John Goetz, this is probably going to be my longest review to date. I'd say I'm sorry, but I enjoyed it, so I took a lot of notes. All right, let me see what the chat has to say. People taking time off to heal as they should. Travis Earl explains why Palpatine got kidnapped, why Grievous has his cough. That does. But there's plenty of other stuff with the series that conflicts with the 3D series. We're talking about conflicts back and forth. Dial-up used to be brutal. It really did. Yeah, the Jedi being so overpowered admittedly doesn't work for me as much in retrospect, but I still adore the series. But ultimately the show is hyper-stylized, and I can accept it for the fun that it is. Attack of the Clones Episode 2. The bald woman is Asajj Ventress. She gets brought into canon via the 3D series, but her story is very different. Okay, cool, because she is cool. I'm glad she comes back, even via the series that is canon versus this one that is not. All right, Volume 2. A suit-up montage is always a good idea. Always do it. Always do a suit-up montage. Just dive in. I respect it. I support it. I enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for a montage and a sucker for a suit-up. Love how this... what was that note? Love how this, okay with light as well as depth in the show. Oh, I love how they play with light as well as depth in this show. They play with a lot of really forced perspectives, which is not as common in animation, especially anymore. But there's a really cool use of lighting, foreground versus background, background versus foreground, and using that fourth depth to really make things pop. It brings your attention to it. It adds a certain tension. It adds a certain action. It adds a certain pace to the show. Really love that use of forced perspective and lighting. Stormtroopers are more badass than most of the movies. The Stormtroopers in this actually can shoot, and they feel like troopers. The Stormtroopers in this are just badass. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of these troopers. 3 blades of fighting. We get back to Grievous, and he's fighting with 3 blades, and it's fucking awesome. Also, the specific animation style is so rich, you can't anticipate where they chart the action or where an explosion is. A lot of animation for me, especially the old Disney stuff, because they had to, and this is not an insult. It's just... you'd see the spot that's going to explode because it's hand-drawn, so your eyes would subconsciously or consciously be drawn to it. It'd be like a different color, it'd be different. You're waiting for something to happen in that moment. And a lot of times, even with the way cinematography is for animation, you can track where they're going to go through the frame, what's going to happen. This style of animation is so rich, and it's so frenetic, and it's so kinetic, and it's so energetic that you really can't anticipate where the action is going to take place. There's so much fucking going on. So I really like that, and I need more of that. It's another thing that I think that Invincible's doing really well is there's so much going on in the frame. You're not tracking like that's gonna. You're just fucking in. Ayla and Shartine. I guess that wasn't Ahsoka. I learned that it's Shartine, not Ahsoka. Oh shit, Qui-Gon. What a lovely flashback scene. I'm a Qui-Gon fan because I'm a Liam Neeson fan, so I was a fan of this flashback scene. We only get a little Qui-Gon here, but I was very happy to see him. This show's pace is great. It takes its time, but it's still intense because there's so much going on per frame, but it's able to breathe, take its time, let you live with these characters, let you give a shit. Jedi Knight Origins. Crowd shots are beautiful. There's this awesome crowd shot where there's like a fucking spotlight on Anakin, but there's all these other Jedi Knights. It is awesome. There's so much world building here. It is cool as fuck. Padme and Anakin have much better chemistry here than any of the live action movies. I'm so much more invested in this Padme and Anakin than Sand Gets Everywhere, Padme and Anakin. I love Natalie Portman from the bottom of my soul. I wish they let her have a script. This is way more love. I really enjoyed this. Fancy 3PO. He's all gold now. This is 3PO Gold Origins. Yoda himself cut off the tail and with a lightsaber. So the what's it called? Padme is, nope, that's the character. Padawan, there it is. The Padawan tail, he is cut directly from Yoda and using a lightsaber, and then Padme kept it like a Jedi umbilical. There's a little Jedi umbilical. Padme kept it like a little belly flesh and fucking little put it in a box, and now he's a knight. Very exciting shit. And Yoda himself did that shit. Way more dialogue and humor in the second volume. Yeah, and we're only 20 minutes in, and there's already 4 times the dialogue than there was in the entire first volume. First volume is great setup, great world building, great build, and then the second volume is like story, execution, some comedy. There's a lot more going on in the second volume. Both are great. I give the first volume a B+. I give the second volume an A-. Overall, both very high grades for me anyway, and I really love them both existing. Fighting side by side, the hair, the scar. We've got this great montage where about a month and a half goes past, and his hair changes into episode 3 hair, and the scar happens, which is on the fucking Hayden. All that shit goes down very, very quickly, and it gives you a lot of story evolution, character evolution, time evolution. Great way to show Anakin's growth, evolution, and time passing through battle and physical attributes. That's what I should have just read my notes. Love the use of classic film wipes and transitions in animation. Dooku whooping Mr. 3-Saber Grievous. We cut back to Dooku when he's fighting 3-Saber and he's fucking owning, showing how powerful Dooku is. Even animated, it's so obvious the Senator is Emperor Palpatine. Senator Palpatine is the Superman Clark Kent of the Star Wars universe. It's been obvious from the beginning. How people didn't know Chancellor Senator Palpatine was fucking the Emperor. It's the Clark Kent thing. In this case, it's the Batman thing. But he's the Clark Kent of the Star Wars universe. He's so clearly the same guy. Even animated. Come on. Come on, smart people of Star Wars universe. The snow is stunning. I love the snow sequence. I always love, like one of my favorite sequences in The Last Jedi is the salt. I love bright, stark contrast. This snow sequence is great, especially with the hand-painted snow backgrounds. It's very good. Another dope creature design. The big bad in the snow sequence is a great creature design. I like this better than quite a few of the theatrically released movies. I already talked about that earlier. This ranks in my upper half of Star Wars. That journey into space and the battle reveal was epic. They like zoom out from a lower battle up into the sky, and there's like just a bunch of Star Destroyers brawling it out. Like it feels like a full-on space battle. Really, really enjoyed it. Mythology of Jedi and use of mythology and other species is great here. Ghost Hand. The whole Ghost Hand setup, very, very excellently done. Yoda with the offensive defense, the way he's just murking fools using the Force offensively, but it's also keeping a barrier around him defensively. Snail Warrior Paint is awesome. I love the Warrior Paint, but I also love how it gets there. I love when there's mythology to things, when there's, ancestry to something, when it feels like it's important and long-running. I'm all about it. The two baddest teaming up, Mace and Yoda. Maybe my favorite action sequence because it's two of my favorite characters just going at it and they're kicking ass and they're both badasses. That cool stretch neck Hammerhead guy from the old movies. This dude's got like Hammerhead, and then it turns out his name is Hammerhead. I looked it up. Dude's name is Hammerhead. Hammerhead with the save. Grievous is so awesome in this. Seriously hoping Obi-Wan's show has some of these vibes. The varied styles of animation, CGI, painted backgrounds, traditional hieroglyphs, etc. for different purposes, but all in I don't know how to say his name. Tartakovsky's style have been really special, really loving it. Jedi don't pay for Subway. Everyone knows that. There's a really funny joke about the subway. I laughed out loud. 90s action thriller on the tracks fight sequence makes me happy. So many force spankings in the show. Second volume, hella force use, hella badass force use. The old tie his cape to the train with the force trick works every time. I need me some star wipes. There was not a single star wipe that I noticed. There was a lot of side wipes. There was a lot of down wipes. There was a lot of fades. I need me a star wipe. Didn't get one, but that's okay. So many quotables. The Jedi have the left, being a markedly badass one. Ghost hand, get after it. I love when mythology pays off. It does very beautifully. And then there's a de-arming sequence to show camaraderie, also to show freedom, also to show rebellion, also to show there's just so much to that. And Star Wars is very good at cutting people's arms off. Skywalker just can't keep two hands. That's another note I had. A very a very manual version of destroying the tiny target in the Death Star is like this sequence, and then destroying everything out, exploding from the center. Oh, the family moment, symbolic tribal hand for the men and for Anakin. That was awesome. Even after all the closing doors, like there's this great closing door sequence. They're all running and shit. Grievous is still there because he's a badass. I love that. 4 sabers. Now he's got 4 sabers. What do you do when you got a 2-saber fight, then a 3-saber fight? You got a 4-saber fight. Yo, Windu. Yes. I love the crush. I just wrote, yeah, Windu. Yes. Shantine is a boss. I wonder if she pops up anywhere. Audience, does Shantine pop back up? She was cool. Grievous and Palpatine lead right into episode 3, I'm guessing. And then that was my last note because it ended and I wrote in all caps, that was cool. Whew. Guys, I liked Clone Wars. It was very good. B+, A-, right around the halfway point in all of the Star Wars films. There's 9 Star Wars movies. Then there's Rogue One. Then there's Solo, A Star Wars Story. I haven't watched the Ewok Christmas special in so long I can't count that. But I would say this is in that upper 6. I would say like if there's 12 that we're considering canon, I'm including this one just for me. But then this would be around that 6 mark. Really enjoyed it. B+, A-, had a great time with it. I'm going to check on the live chat real quick before I wrap this up. Oh, these are clone troopers. They're better than standard stormtroopers, better trained and whatnot. That does explain a lot. Yeah, the rat tail. It's a moment. Daniel Lamb, this is my top 3 cartoon animated series ever. Avatar, The Last Airbender, Batman the Animated Series, then this. Respect. I got a lot of love for Batman the Animated Series, and I got a lot of love for this. I have not seen Avatar. I will one day. Yeah, the first 2 seasons were under some strict guidelines to keep it short. After the success of the first 2 seasons, they got more creative freedom and they could make longer episodes, which I'm glad they did because I really loved it. Mace was the boss in this show. The scene in the field with the floating tanks is mind-blowing. If they can do Tom and Jerry Space Jam animation, I'll be happy. Grievous fighting the team of Jedi is just a great scene. Grievous is like a slasher villain and all this. Yeah, he's like Jaws, man. He just comes up, tears shit up, is awesome. All right, guys, that is going to be everything. Lucas, really enjoyed Clone Wars. You should compare notes. My little brother's name is Lucas. It does relate to Star Wars pretty directly. My family is about the wars, and Lucas, my little brother, loves him some Star Wars, and I usually don't watch a lot of Star Wars, so I should compare notes with him, Mom. That is correct. I will send Lucas these notes. Do I mean Shakti, Coy? The Jedi who is the same... Oh, they're the same species as Osaka. I'm not crazy. Yes, that character, Shakti. I wrote Shanti, and I also wrote Shakti. I couldn't tell which one it was, so I called her both. Shakti, Michael McCarcel. The Jedi, that is the same species. That's why they look similar. I thought it was her. It wasn't. Yes, does Shakti come back? And after you tell me, then I'm going to wrap this up because I really want to know because that character was awesome. Michael McCarcel, you're my expert in the Star Wars field today. What's the word? No pressure. Just sitting here waiting to find out. I could Google it. But why Google when I can use some YouTube stream time to get all the answers from? You're like out getting a drink, you went to the bathroom, you come back, you're like, what? Why are we waiting? What's going on? She's in the movies and the other series. What movies? She's in the movies? All right, well, she is a reason to watch Clone Wars, I guess, because I guess... Oh, there was a movie of Clone Wars. Got it. And she dies in the deleted scene. I did read that. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this review. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed Clone Wars. John Goetz, thank you very much for being a Tater Tot patron. Thank you for always recommending me dope stuff to enjoy. We are about halfway into My Hero Academia on that journey. We've also watched, again, some Dragon Ball, and now we've completed Clone Wars. Next week, for Michael McCarcel, we are going to be watching Batman Forever. We did Batman Returns for Christmas. Now that we're going into spring, we're going to be doing some Val Kilmer Batman. We're going to be getting into the crazy Batmans. Batman Forever. That's right. We're talking Tommy Lee Jones, who will not sanction Jim Carrey's buffoonery. That's coming next Tuesday, probably about 6:30. Coy Cubed at 5. A little bitty break for me to get some food. 6:30, Batman Forever watch along right here on this very, very channel. Next month, going to be a little lighter on stuff because I did a double dash with Ted Lasso for the great AJ Lancaster, so there's going to be a little lighter next month, but we're going to have a lot of stuff coming to you. I might try to get out of town. I haven't left LA except for one trip to Santa Barbara since this all started. So in 14 months, I've either been in the same 10-mile chunk or I've gone to one place. I kind of want to get out of town, so I'm going to try to go visit my family in either May or September around the heat, either before or after it. If the timing works out, I might be taking a week off in May, but I'll let you guys know. So, you know where to find me. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Fucking love TikTok. All right, guys. Batman Forever. Next week. Coy Cubed. Next week. Now I'm going to go feed Spidey Cat. You're right, Mom. He has demands. After bath time. Food and bath time. All right, much love, Koi Pond. I will see you very soon. If you haven't seen Clone Wars yet, well, I just spoiled a lot of it, but watch it, Disney Plus, in the vintage section. Want to feel old? 2003's vintage. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.